My boyfriend cried in front of me for the first time. It changed our lives. I've been with my boyfriend for 2.5 years now. He's never been comfortable talking about his emotions. The only person he's ever confided in was his mother when he was a child. Some people refer to him as a robot. Obviously, in the past, I've expressed my desire for him to talk to me about things that are affecting him, but he just brushes it off. I'm also quite introverted myself, so I struggle to make him feel like I'm a safe person for him to be vulnerable with. I don't know the right things to say. We've fought about it in the past, and he has said he just cannot get the words out. He's described it as having a ball in his throat whenever he tries to express himself, and he is simply unable to. I had never seen him cry. When I could tell he was visibly down, I tried to encourage him to share with me, but he just denied that anything was wrong. Earlier this week, his family found out that his mother will be passing away very soon, potentially within a couple of weeks. It came as a surprise to all of them. I knew it hit him the hardest because she was the only woman in his life with whom he could be vulnerable. I asked a good friend of mine for advice on how I can make him feel comfortable being vulnerable around me. I was worried I might mess it up in his time of need. She told me I should offer to wash his hair, and that stuck with me. I don't know why, but I felt like I would appreciate it if my partner offered to do it for me when I was feeling down. Well, when he eventually came home, he looked extremely worn out. I had already prepared dinner, so we sat down to eat, but we pretty much ate in silence. He hardly even looked up from his food. I asked if he wanted to talk, and again he brushed me off. Once we finished, I asked him if he'd like to shower with me. It had been at least a couple of days since he had been able to have one. I dimmed the bathroom lights and played some relaxing music that we both enjoy on the speaker. I made the shower nice and hot, gently helped him undress, and had him sit on the bench under the water while I finished undressing. I joined him on the bench and slowly washed him all over, taking breaks to rest my head on his or whisper something to him. I spent a while massaging his head as I washed his hair. I kept kissing him on the lips, forehead, and neck, occasionally embracing him. I rubbed his shoulders in places where I thought he might be sore after being up and about for 2 days. There was nothing lustful about the atmosphere. It was a completely different type of intense intimacy that's difficult to describe. He hardly said a word during all this, and he looked like he could cry at any minute. I wasn't sure what to say. I didn't want to pressure him into anything, so I just looked into his eyes, smiled, and said, "It's okay." Once we were done, we both sat there for a while on the bench under the water, not speaking, just enjoying each other's company. I kept running my hand up and down his back, across his cheek, or through his hair, trying to make him relax as much as possible. After I dried him and myself off, we got into bed, and I turned on the TV. I was half watching it and half playing with his hair. I asked if he wanted to talk about anything, and he shook his head. I could tell he was really upset despite his attempts to hide it. Maybe 20 minutes later, I could see him literally on the verge of tears. I rolled to my side, put my arms around him, and pulled him into my chest. That's when he started. The tears began to flow, and he sobbed and sobbed. He was holding onto me so tightly that sometimes it was difficult to breathe. I could feel years of bottled up emotions pouring out. He continued crying harder, and it broke my heart. He said something about his mom, but it was muffled, and I couldn't hear it. Seeing the man you love like that, clinging onto you as if you were going to leave, while he let it all out, hurt my heart. I felt so bad for him that I had tears in my eyes too. I just held him tight and kept whispering how much I loved him, that it was okay, that I'm here for him, and so on. Even when he eventually stopped sobbing, he continued to have his arms wrapped tightly around me, with his face buried in either my stomach or chest. I just kept comforting him until he fell asleep. Usually, I don't like cuddling while sleeping, but that night, I held him all night long. I couldn't bring myself to let him go. It's hard to explain the way I was feeling during all this. Obviously, it was terrible that he was going through this, but at the same time, I was so happy and relieved. Is that weird? It was an emotional experience, seeing the man you love more than anything show negative emotions on that level for the first time. I remember almost every detail of that night. It's etched in my memory. I haven't brought it up to him yet. I figured maybe it's best to let him talk about the evening when he feels ready. But then again, I also want to be able to tell him that it was okay and a good thing that he did. I think he's a bit embarrassed that it happened, so I don't know if he'll bring it up. I hope he does, though. I've read some women say that once they've seen their man cry, they lose attraction. That just seems bizarre to me. If anything, I feel even more attracted to him than before. It's like it has amplified my love for this man. I never want to let him go.